Good morning students, this is 11th class biology, chapter 9 biomolecules, and this is lecture number 3 of this chapter. Today we will discuss about primary and secondary metabolites and biomacromolecules. In biomacromolecules we will study about lipids and proteins. So let's start our lecture with definition of metabolites. So what are metabolites? These are organic biomolecules used in various metabolic reactions of cell. Like in our cell, various metabolic reactions occur which are required to continue the life, right? And for those metabolic reactions of cell, many biomolecules are required. So many organic biomolecules are present inside the cell to help in those metabolic reactions, right? Because these biomolecules are required in metabolic reactions, that's why these are called metabolites. So we can say these organic biomolecules are called metabolites because these are involved with the metabolic reactions of cell, right? Now these metabolites are of two types: primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Now let's understand about primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Primary metabolites are found in animals, and functions of these primary metabolites are easily identifiable, while secondary metabolites are found in plants, fungal cells or microbial cells, right? These are found in animals and these are found in plants or fungal or microbial cells. Now functions of primary metabolites are easily identifiable, and what are these functions? They play important role in physiological processes, all the physiological processes which occur in our body like digestion, respiration, excretion. So in these physiological processes these metabolites are required, right? While role of secondary metabolites is not known. We can say functions are not identifiable for the secondary metabolites. Like their function in the host is not identifiable. In the host, like we are saying, secondary metabolites are found either in plant cell or fungal cell or microbial cell. So in these cells, their functions are not identifiable. Now, these are some examples of primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. So primary metabolites examples are proteins, carbohydrates and lipids. All these organic biomolecules, or you can say metabolites, are utilized in physiological processes of host or of animals, you can say, because these are found in animals. Now secondary metabolites like alkaloids, rubber, gums, spices, antibiotics, all these, we obtain these from plants, or like antibiotics we obtain from the microbes or the fungal cells, right? So all these are utilized for human welfare, but their function is not known in host cell. Like we don't know that what is their function for the plant or for the host in which these are found, but these are utilized for human welfare, and all these are examples of secondary metabolites. After this, our next topic is biomacromolecules. Biomacromolecules are large in size, first thing, okay, because these are macromolecules, it means these are large in size, and these have higher molecular weight that we have already discussed. Their weight is 10,000 Dalton and above. It can be above 10,000 Daltons, right? Next thing is these are found in acid insoluble pool. About this also we have discussed that two fractions we obtain after grinding a tissue, like one is acid soluble pool in which biomicromolecules are present, and another is acid insoluble pool in which biomacromolecules are present. So these are the characteristics for biomacromolecules. These are major biomacromolecules which are found in our tissues, like proteins, polysaccharides, nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, both these are nucleic acids, and lipids. So all these are major biomacromolecules. Now these major biomacromolecules are polymers. These are polymers. Polymers means these are made up of subunits, monomer subunits. Okay, these are made up of 2 or more monomers by polymerization of 2 or more monomers. Like proteins are made up of amino acid. Like many amino acids, like monomer units, will polymerize and will form a polymer called protein, right? Polysaccharides are polymers of monosaccharides. These are polymers of monosaccharides. Likewise, nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. These are polymers of nucleotides. You already know about nucleotides. We have discussed in previous lecture, right? And lipids are also polymers of fatty acids with glycerol. Okay, so all these biomacromolecules you can see here, these are polymers because these are made up of 2 or more monomers as subunits, right? Amino acids polymerize to form proteins, monosaccharides polymerize to form polysaccharides, and nucleotides polymerize to form nucleic acids. So first biomacromolecule that we will discuss today is lipid. Lipids have molecular weight 18 to 800 Daltons, but we discussed that molecular weight of biomacromolecules is 10,000 Daltons or about 10,000 Daltons, right? But these have molecular weight less than that. Then how lipids can be called biomacromolecules? Because these are found in acid insoluble pool. Now what is the reason behind it? Their molecular weight is very less. Still these are found in acid insoluble pool. What is reason behind it? Let's discuss that. Because you know that lipids are found in plasma membrane, right? So we can say lipids are arranged in structure like cell membrane, and also these are part of some other membranes like many cell organelles are there inside the cell. Okay, and in their membrane also lipids are present. Okay, like this is a lipid molecule having head and tail. Okay, this is head of lipid and these are tail of lipid, and this kind of lipid bilayer is present in plasma membrane, right? Now what happens when we grind a tissue? We grind a tissue in an acid, right? At that time we are disrupting the cell structure, okay, and cell membrane and other membranes are broken into pieces. So the cell membrane like this or the other membranes in which lipids are present, these will be broken into pieces, right, and will form vesicle. So vesicle like structure will be formed here like this. Okay, because of the disruption of the cell and these broken pieces of the plasma membrane or the other membranes will form vesicles like this. Now these vesicles are not soluble in water, right? That's why we get these in acid insoluble pool, and that's why lipids come under biomacromolecules, not under biomicromolecules, because biomicromolecules are found in acid soluble pool, right? So this is the reason behind it. This is the table showing average composition of cells. Now how we know about the composition of a living tissue or a cell? By knowing about all the macromolecules present in acid insoluble pool and the micromolecules present in acid soluble pool. So all those combinedly represent the composition of a living tissue or a cell, right? Now let's see the composition of a cell. Like water is present 70 to 90% in a cell. Proteins are present 10 to 15%. Carbohydrates are present 3%. 2% lipids are present. And 5 to 7% nucleic acids are present, and ions are only 1%. So here you can see water is the most abundant component which is found in our cells. Okay. Next type of biomicromolecules about which we will discuss today are proteins. And proteins are polypeptides. Polypeptides means many amino acids are present here to make a chain which are combined together with the help of peptide bond. Okay, so polypeptide. When two amino acids combine together, amino acid plus one more amino acid. This is called a peptide. Okay, and when many such amino acids are combined together, that structure will be called a polypeptide. Okay, when more than two amino acids are combined together like this complete chain will be called a polypeptide chain or a protein, you can say. Okay, so protein is nothing but a polypeptide chain which is made up of many amino acids, and these amino acids are combined together with the help of peptide bond. That's why we are calling it a polypeptide chain. Okay, we will discuss about peptide bond also, that how it is formed. Okay, now we can say that protein is a linear chain of amino acids like this. Okay, now here you can see all these amino acids present in a protein. These are monomers of protein. Okay, these are monomers of protein, right? Now protein that will be formed due to combination of these monomers will be called a polymer, and these polymers are of two types: homopolymer and heteropolymer. Okay, now heteropolymers are those polymers which are made up of different types of monomer units, and homopolymers are made up of same type of monomer units. So same monomers are present in homopolymers and different monomers are present in heteropolymers, right? These proteins which are made up of many amino acids, these are heteropolymers because these are made up of different types of amino acids. All these amino acids you can see here in this linear chain, these are different amino acids. Okay, that's why we can say proteins are heteropolymers. Okay, because all these different types of amino acids will be present here. And these amino acids can be like alanine, then glycine, tryptophan. Okay, like this amino acids will be present here. As you know, 20 different types of amino acids are present in our body which are used to make proteins. That's why proteins are heteropolymers. Protein is very important biomacromolecule present in our cells because these proteins perform various functions inside our cells. Okay, these are very important. So this table is showing some important proteins and their functions. Like collagen. Collagen is a protein, and this collagen function is it acts as intercellular ground substance. Like collagen is very important part of our skin. It provides strengthening and structure to our skin. Okay, so it is very important component of connective tissues because it is intercellular ground substance, right? Second protein which is given here is trypsin, and trypsin is an enzyme which is used in digestion of proteins. Digestion of proteins. So it is function of trypsin. Trypsin, we are saying it is an enzyme. So enzymes are also proteins, right? Then insulin. Insulin, which is a hormone. So hormones are also proteins, and you know function of insulin, it maintains the glucose level in our blood, right? So insulin is also a protein. Then antibody, which help you to fight against diseases, or you can say fights infectious agents. These antibodies are also proteins. After that, receptors which are present in our cell membrane, which are helpful for the sensory reception like smell, taste. Okay, so all those receptors, like these are some examples of receptor, like receptor for smell and taste, but there are various receptors which are present in our cells membranes also. Okay, that if anything is entering inside the cell for the reception of that. So many receptors are present in our cells, and all those receptors are actually proteins. So that is also a function of proteins. After that, one example is GLUT4. Glu is here for glucose. Okay, and this is a channel which is present in our plasma membrane, and this channel is present in our plasma membrane for the transport of glucose in our cells. Okay, so this GLUT4 enables glucose transport into cells. Now let's discuss about the structure of proteins. So a biologist study the structure of protein at 4 levels, and these are primary level, which is called primary structure of protein. At secondary level, we study secondary structure of protein. At tertiary level, we study tertiary structure of protein, and at quaternary level, we also study quaternary structure of protein. So let's start with the primary structure of protein, that what we study in the primary structure of a protein. So primary structure includes number and sequence of amino acid in each polypeptide. Like we are saying that proteins are polypeptides. Okay, so these polypeptides, as we know, these are made up of amino acids. That is a chain of amino acid, you can say. So at the primary level, for studying the primary structure of protein, we study the number and sequence of amino acids which are present in a polypeptide chain. As we know, proteins are heteropolymers. So in a polypeptide chain, in a linear chain of amino acids, you can say different type of amino acids will be present. So we can make a chain like this, like first amino acid will be serine, then cysteine, after that alanine, then tyrosine. All these are amino acids. Okay, and you can see these different amino acids are present here in a linear chain. Now this first amino acid has free NH2 group here, and the last amino acid will have free carboxyl group. That's why this is called N-terminal, and this is called N-terminal of a polypeptide chain, and this is called C-terminal because carboxyl group is free here. So it is called C-terminal here in a polypeptide chain. So at the primary level, or we can say for studying the primary structure of a protein, we just study the number of these amino acids present here. The first amino acid where the N-terminal is present, and the last amino acid where the C-terminal is present. So we just study the number of these amino acids present here and the sequence of these amino acids. Okay, so we can say in a linear polypeptide chain, N-terminal is there and C-terminal is there. Okay, now if we write the formula for it, like we know the structure of an amino acid, it has alpha carbon on one side of which NH2 group is there, amino group is there. Okay, and on another side there is carboxyl group. Okay, on one side there is R group, which is variable, and on one side there is H. Okay, now how this linear chain of amino acids will be formed and how the peptide bond will be formed, you just understand that. So consider this is first amino acid we are taking here, so that's why we are writing R1 here for the first amino acid. This R group is a variable. Then second amino acid that we will take here is, this is alpha carbon. On this side there will be NH2, and here we will write R2 because this is second amino acid, and carboxyl group, and here there will be H. Okay, now this H from here, from NH2, we can write it like this, NH, NH, right? Now what will happen, this OH from here and this H from here, it will make water, and a water molecule will be released here. Okay, so water molecule will be released from here like this, and this bond which is called CONH or peptide bond will be formed like this. You see here in the next we will have, we are writing it again, so we will have NH2 H CO. This water has been released from here, that's why this NH will be there, right? And it will be Cr2 for the second amino acid, it will be H, and this carboxyl group will be present here. This water has been released from here. Okay, and this bond, this is called CONH or peptide bond has been formed here, right? So this is how the peptide bond is formed with the release of one water molecule. This one water molecule is released here and peptide bond is formed, and that's why this structure is called dipeptide, because there are two amino acids. That's why this is called dipeptide. And when many such amino acids are attached together with the help of peptide bond, that structure will be called polypeptide, and such a linear chain of amino acid will be formed here. Now this end of polypeptide chain will be called N-terminal, and this will be called C-terminal. Here you can see this amino group is free, and here this carboxyl group is free. Okay. In next lecture, we will start with the secondary structure of proteins. Now let's discuss the homework solution of previous lecture, and this is answer for question number 7 of NCERT. Here you need to tell the triglyceride composition. So triglycerides are made up of glycerol and 3 fatty acid combination. Okay, so when the 3 fatty acids are attached with one glycerol molecule, the structure is called triglyceride. These 3 fatty acids present here can be same or different. Now you can see in this structure, this is structure of triglyceride, and here this one glycerol molecule is present, CH2OH, CHOH and CH2OH will be present here, and then with the help of ester bond, 3 fatty acids will be attached here. Okay, so this is first fatty acid which is attached here by formation of ester bond. This is second fatty acid, and this is third fatty acid. R1 is written here for the first fatty acid. This is R is variable group here for the first fatty acid. This is for second fatty acid R2, and this is for third fatty acid which is R3. So this is structure of triglyceride. Next question that I gave in homework was a structure of guanosine and guanylic acid. So let's discuss about the structure of guanosine first. So guanosine, what is this guanosine? This is a nucleoside. Nucleoside, right? And how the nucleoside is formed? By combination of nitrogenous base, or you can say nitrogen base, and sugar. sugar can be ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar here. Okay, so let's make the structure of guanosine. So first of all, you will make the structure of sugar here. So the sugar which is present here is ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar, which is a 5 carbon ring, 5-membered ring you can say. So this is first position, this is second carbon position. Okay, and OH is present here. Here also OH is present on third position. This is fourth position, and here we will have CH2OH. We can write it like this, CH2OH, and this C is here 5th carbon. Okay, so this is the structure of ribose sugar. First of all, you will make it. After that, you are saying that here nitrogen base is attached with sugar. So just we will attach the nitrogen base here. We don't need to make the complete structure for that nitrogen base. Which nitrogen base is present here? Because we are making the structure of guanosine, it means guanine is present here. Okay, so nitrogen base that we will attach here will be guanine. For guanine we write just G. And on which position of sugar nitrogen base is attached? It is always attached at first position of sugar. Okay, so we will write G here for guanine. This is the structure for guanosine. Let's discuss the structure of guanylate acid also. So how guanylate acid will perform? Guanylate acid is a nucleotide, and nucleotide is formed due to addition of phosphate in nucleoside. Okay, so in nucleoside, when phosphate will be attached, it will form nucleotide. Okay, and which nucleotide we are studying here? Guanylate acid. We will study about the structure of guanylate acid. Okay, so we need to attach phosphate group here, right? So let's make structure of guanylate acid again. We will make structure of ribose sugar first. Just label the carbon position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. Okay, and attach guanine at first position. Just make OH here. And then at this position, at 5th carbon position where the CH2 is present here. Okay, here what will happen with the release of one water molecule? Phosphate will be attached here with this carbon. Okay, with the release of one water molecule. So this structure will be like this. The phosphate will be attached here, and phosphate structure will have here, this phosphate will have OH. Okay, and this will be CH2OH. So H from here and OH from here, the water molecule will be released, and like this phosphate will be attached here on the 5th carbon of sugar, and this complete structure will be called structure of guanylate acid or a nucleotide you can say.